Tuesday, so y'all know what time it is. It's time for the St. Louis Hustle Podcast with your boy Cortez Hustle, my girl Michelle A. And
Hey, hey,
today we're
hey.
talking relationship intelligence, right? Why is it so important? And this is the foundational stuff for all my single ladies, all my single fellas. No? Okay,
Everybody,
yeah. So this is the
everybody.
foundational stuff to get that ring if that's what you're seeking, but also just how to build quality relationships in general, whether it's parent child, whether it's sibling to sibling, whether it's coworker or whatever. You need to understand relationship intelligence. And we're going to break it all down for you today. We got six, maybe seven proven tips to help you get to that level. So do me a huge favor, comment in the chat where you're from, drop the name of your business and or your brand, smash that share button, ladies and gentlemen, and let's kick it this morning.
Growing up in St. Louis has never been easy, and most say if you want to succeed here, that you must leave and put down roots somewhere else because of the strong crabs in a barrel mentality here.
I don't know if I'm just an optimistic person, but to see people like Chuck Berry and Nelly make it in the music industry, or the Roberts brothers and Dave Stewart in business, or William Lacey Clay Jr. in politics, can we blame the city, or is it that people just aren't hungry enough?
We're talking to all of the movers and shakers in this town, from entertainers to politicians, social activists and organizers, and of course, entrepreneurs.
Is there a curse on this city that holds people back? Is there an unseen hand that decides who makes it and who doesn't? You're about to find out.
Welcome to St. Louis Hustle.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the St. Louis Hustle Podcast. I'm your host, Cortez Hustle. That's my girl, Michelle A.
Hey, hey, hey.
And we're coming to you live and direct from the Local Biz Marketing Pro Studios right here in St. Louis, Missouri. If you are a small local business and you're trying to figure out how to increase your online presence, how to get more leads, create more revenue, expand your operation, contribute more to the communities that you serve, you, my friend, might want to check out localbizmarketingpros.com because that's what we specialize in: lead generation, customer acquisition, and retention. Localbizmarketingpros.com. Today, we're talking relationship intelligence. What is it required for you to build and maintain quality relationships? And we might even get into when to say when, right? Because some relationships ought
Yeah,
not be maintained, and you got to know
yep,
when to cut those jokers off too. So
absolutely.
do us a huge favor, comment in the chat where you from, drop the name of your business and or your brand, and smash that share button and tag a few people who are trying to
Yeah,
figure out. Because everybody knows somebody, Michelle, who just don't know how to talk to people, don't know how to
man.
be around people. Just
Yep,
if
yep, yep,
you know
yep.
that person, just slide in their DMs and be like, "Hey, check out Michelle and Cortez. They funny as heck." You don't gotta say
Man.
you need this in your life.
Right, right, right. Right. Just sneak up on them, tap them on the shoulder, and say, "Psst, somebody had said." You know what? One of my online mentors, I heard him say this about relational intelligence. Two key things, and it's of course one of my favorite online um, mentors slash pastors, Darius Daniels. Two things he says: you can't get relate. Number one, you can't get relationships right if you get people wrong. You know what I'm saying? That's the
Mm,
one thing. You can't get relationships right if you get people wrong, right? And that's so key.
yeah.
And another thing, when you look at your life overall, there is one thing you can always know. One source of pain will always come from relationships, right? When you look
Yeah.
at the big
Yeah.
totality, if you look at, man, what is a pain driver in my life? Whether it's what's your intentional, unintentional, one of those pain
Hmm.
drivers that everybody always is going to feel is going to be from a relationship, right? So the
Yeah.
better we can figure out how to navigate people, the better we can kind of level the playing field in those relationships that we have, you know. And again, as Cortez mentioned, whether it is romantic relationships, business relationships, parental friendships, sibling. The better that we can understand those relationships, the better off that we can navigate them, the better off that we can understand them and really learn how to place them, and the better we can, just really get the most from them. So. Hopefully, we can do that today.
That's our aim. So let us know where you're tuning in
Hmm.
from. Let us know if you are a business owner. Drop the name of your business and on your brand so I can give you a free
Drop
business shout
it.
out. A
Drop
couple quick
it.
announcements before we get the show rocking and rolling. It is Tuesday, so tonight we do something called office hours here at Local Biz Marketing Pros and Monetize My Life Academy. We literally provide free training inside of our Facebook group for everybody, right? We have two primary Facebook groups. We have Monetize My Life. We have Digital Empire Builders Worldwide. That is for solopreneurs, coaches, consultants trying to figure out how to better incorporate the internet and social media into their brand. We also have Local Biz Marketing Mastermind. That is for your brick and mortar business owners, your shop owners, your service businesses, your plumbers, electricians. You're trying to figure out how to learn the internet and use it in your business. I'm going to put links to both of those in the comments. Join the groups tonight at 7 p.m. We're just going to chop it up. I answer questions. I usually have a little bit of an agenda that we kind of go through. So if you need help growing your business online, then you should be in one of those two groups for that to take place. Also, we are rolling out a brand new master class coming up next month. Early next month, we'll be teaching how to create your digital product from PLR. And everybody who attends this master class will literally walk out of that thing with their own online product, whether it's an
Mm.
ebook, whether it's a course, whether it's a their own master class based on their own knowledge or whatever. Be on the lookout for that. We'll be dropping that on these pages here very, very soon, where you can sign up, take that class, and we're going to help you build your first or your next digital product using private label rights material. So I'm super excited about helping more people go into business for themselves in 2023. So with that, Chalet, how was your
Whew.
weekend, sis?
Man, the weekend was good, right? The weekend was really great actually. It was bittersweet. Let me say that. It was bittersweet. The bitter was we laid to rest an acquaintance of mine. And I'm gonna say this is for women, particularly baby mamas, right? So we laid to rest an acquaintance of mine this weekend, and we were baby mamas, right? And not often do you hear baby mamas speak well of each other, you know? Often baby mamas, we share one thing in common, the baby daddy, you know,
Right.
and not often do we speak well of each other. But I will say, recently my oldest daughter's sister's mother passed away. Now
Mm.
they already lost their dad back in 2020. He died suddenly of a heart attack, and now their mother um, died suddenly of natural causes. She was just 50. She died
Mm.
suddenly a couple weeks ago, and so the other siblings of my daughter are, my daughter's 27, so her brother is 28, or she'll be 28 this year. So her sibling is soon to be 29. Her sibling under her is 24, and the one under her is like 16. And so they lost their mom and their dad at that
Wow.
young age. And so um, when I met her, her common goal was having the children to get to know each other. That was our common
Hmm.
goal. And she
Yeah.
treated mine like hers. And I had the opportunity. I didn't get a chance to know her boys well, but her daughter, I had an opportunity to just really grow with her daughter and get to know her well. And man, it was a shock, but I was happy to know her and have the camaraderie that I did with her. So man, just kind of
Hmm.
a rest in heaven to Angela Harris. Just it was a man. Um man, that's just kind of all I have with that.
And,
Just
and
go ahead.
I know you had some other stuff this weekend, but I want
Yeah.
to chime in on that because
Please do.
oftentimes, oftentimes we don't see the power in some of the quote unquote societal determined negative situations and circumstances, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just for times such as this,
Mm-hmm.
because both of those parents are gone, they have another surrogate parent in you, right?
Yeah.
Because of the way y'all built y'all relationship and
Yeah.
move the bitterness. Because if your if you love your child from that man, how can you not love someone else's child from that man who is also your child's sibling and not want the best for them?
Seriously.
I remember being at one of my uncle's funerals, and he's from that generation. Like he's my great uncle, so he's from that generation where uh, you can be married and have everything appear to be going well on this side of town, but have a whole
Right.
another situation on the other side of town, right?
Yep.
And I just remember at the funeral how and why the primary family and marital bliss didn't want the other family there, and I'm like, they lost their pops too. Like
Right.
it's as tough as it is because that man may have cheated on your mom. At the end of the day, all of y'all lost y'all dad, right?
Everybody did.
Everybody. So,
Yeah.
and we're not in a society that says you can have your own separate funeral because
Right.
based on y'all being the marital parents,
Right.
y'all don't get. I can't come and get the body and then
Right.
go sit it
Pass
over
them.
here and do like
Pass 'em.
it's so crazy. But
Can
if
we
you look
can we
at
get the body, please? Yeah.
can we get the body? It's our turn. Y'all gotta cut this short. Y'all over y'all
Right.
time. We got
Right.
Austin Lane out here ready to take the body. Oh, like we can't do that.
Wow.
But
Wow.
I think sometimes we miss the opportunity
Yep.
to create the village that we all know is
Mm-hmm.
powerful. And I'm not saying it's easy
No.
because obviously there's emotions involved. And when
Yeah.
you get human emotion involved in anything, uh, your logic goes out the window, right?
It does.
But it warms my heart to hear you say that those kids, even though you didn't get to know the boys that well, at least that girl has
Yeah.
another mother figure that she can
Yes.
lean on, and because
Yes.
y'all were in the place where they wanted everybody to know each other, that she at least knows she's got a sister that's got her
Seriously.
back, right?
Yeah.
I literally am in St. Louis, and my dad's family is in St. Louis. There's probably a couple dozen, maybe
Wow.
more Thorntons in this city that I do not know and have never known, have
Wow.
never seen or met. And I've been here all my life.
Wow.
So
That, yeah.
kudos to you
Man. Yeah.
for putting
Yeah.
everything aside and say, hey, this is where we are
Yeah.
now, and
Yeah.
let's
It's
move from
some
here.
yeah. It's a mother's love. My heart broke for her. I legitimately wanted to just grab her and hold her as a mother as she
Yeah.
stood there. I just wanted to hold her and give her a
Mm.
mother, because I know how I felt when my mom passed. I just wanted somebody mama to hold me. Because I wanted to just let it
Yeah.
all out on someone that could hold it, someone that could maintain it. And it seemed
Yeah.
like only a mom could, and so, but I did. Made sure she had my number, and not just I see her in passing. When I see my daughter, if she just happens to be there, you have my number. I'm gonna check on you. I'm gonna, hey baby, how you doing? And I ain't keeping no kids, but outside of that, I'll be there. Sugar, I don't keep no kids, but I'll be there every other way I can. So, that was
Yeah.
that. And just super quick testimony. This is going to be the speed version of a testimony because I took too much time with that, but important. Baby mamas, get it together. That's the message in that. We had revival at church this past week. This past last week it ended, and had no money to put in church. Got a blessing at the end of the week. I put in $2, my last $2. Put that in church,
Ooh.
and sold that last $2. And on the last day of revival, on Thursday, $1,600 deposited into my bank account. Poof! Thank you, Jesus. There it is. Just I just boom. Social Security for my daddy. When does Social Security give money to an adult child? They give it to the surviving spouse. they give it to a dependent child? When do they give it to an adult child? They say, oh, it's a few circumstances when they. I just filled out the form. Despite it said you don't qualify, I filled out the form anyway and sent it on in and minded my own business. That was well over a month ago when my daddy first passed. Everybody was like, you ain't gonna get nothing. If they send you something, it's gonna be $255. They sent me my daddy whole last check. Thank you, Jesus. It was enough for me to pay my bills. And come on.
Listen, not just an adult child.
Thank you.
Grown.
Able.
We ain't talking about 18 to 24 adult child.
Come on.
Grown, a double dollar sign.
Come on. Because they show ask for social security number and birthday on their form. And I put everything on there truthfully. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I was sitting there minding my own business. That begged the pot. Hey, hit, glory. Hi, Shabbat. Yes. And so it just, but I put in the last $2 and glory.
And I want to say this about sowing and giving. Like sometimes we trip off the dollar amount.
Come on, and that part.
It's the cheerfulness. Hey, this is my last Lord, but
man,
you go.
Tez, come on. You thought I put in $2 million the way I skipped to that altar. I ran down like I just won the lotto. I was like, woo, because I hadn't been able to sow all week. It was a great revival. We had the Todds were in town. We are in relationship, our church is in relationship with Michael Todd's parents, right? So his mom and dad, they come every year and do revival with us. So Brenda and I forget the husband's name, but Michael Todd's mom and dad come down and they're awesome. You know what I'm saying? And each week, each day, I was like, I'm gonna sit here. And the enemy was messing with me. The enemy was like, when they asked for an offering, the enemy was like, pull out your phone and act like you're giving online. Just fake it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody looking at you. and God was like, no, sit in this. It's a temporary moment, but you're not gonna fake it. You know what I'm saying? It's temporary, and I got you in this moment, but just sit there and just sit in it. You know what I'm saying? But it's temporary. You're gonna be able to sow. You will not act like you got something, and no, you ain't gonna feel ashamed. It's coming, and it came, and I that's the first thing when that hit. That's first thing. God was like, "Run me mine." I was like, "I got you. Let me run you that right off the top, off the top." It amazing. So yeah,
love it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna get to this relationship intelligence stuff here in a minute, but y'all know how we do, man. Michelle has got a awesome word of the day, and we're not gonna delay the moment. We're gonna get to it, but I'm gonna ask you one more time. Hit that share button, man. Somebody needs to hear this word of the day. So y'all know how we do. Let's get Michelle's favorite voiceover guy on to introduce
where he at?
Michelle,
where he at?
And now the Michelle I word of the day.
Hey, what is up, everybody? It's your girl, Michelle A. Coming at you today with yet another Michelle A. word of the day. Hey, hallelujah. Today's word of the day is coming at you from Philippians 4:19. Very familiar passage of scripture. And it reads, and my God, man, yours too, shall supply all your needs according to his riches and glory by Christ Jesus. That fits right in with my testimony. Hey, you got to be able to trust the word. You got to be able to trust God that he is a provider. He will supply all of your needs. When I got that breakthrough, right, the God supplied that need, it started with a seed. It started with a seed. It was a $2 seed. As a matter of fact, it was a donated seed. Somebody gave me half of their seed. So it wasn't even a whole seed. It was a half a seed. Somebody shared a seed with me. But I put it in the ground and I just sowed. I didn't know when or what was going to happen from that seed. I had things pending over my head. Rent was due. This was due. Everything was due. And man, a day later, God came through and ta-da, $1,600. God did that thing like he did it. So again, Philippians 4:19, and my God shall supply all of your needs according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus. Lean on the word, trust in the word. It is trustworthy. I'm Michelle A. This is your word of the day. Boom. You just been hit.
Boom. And there you
That
have it,
is.
ladies
That
and gentlemen.
is.
The Michelle A. word
Boom.
of the
Woo.
day brought to you by the St. Louis Griffins professional basketball
Come on.
franchise. Listen, ladies
Look
and
at
gentlemen,
them.
you have an
Powerful.
opportunity to help us create jobs in the community. You have an opportunity to help us bring professional basketball to St. Louis. And you're helping us bring professional basketball to St. Louis. You're bringing community outreach. You're bringing mentorship to the youth, young boys and girls. You're bringing a second chance to some of these young athletes who maybe didn't make it in college, maybe high school and life threw them some bad cards around the time where they should have been going to school and playing ball. They get a second chance to pursue their dreams. So here's what we're asking: 100 for 100. We're asking 100 people to contribute $100 to this professional basketball franchise to help us bring economic empowerment, help us be the change that we want to see in the St. Louis community. I'm going to put a link in the comments and in the show notes for y'all to go and make that contribution. And when you do, you guys are literally going to be making history with us, y'all. It is a big, big deal. We're going to celebrate you guys on our website. We're going to do a commemorative t-shirt with all of the founding patrons' names on the back. We're going to do a special mixer for our founding patrons at the end of the season. So you get an opportunity to show your support, not just talk about it, but be about it. Check that link in the show notes in the description and contribute your $100 today and help us be the change that we want to see in our communities. Now, Chalet,
Yep.
let's get to this relationship intelligence stuff. This
Man.
is one of the things that we don't typically um, do or think about in terms of success in life. We
Right.
just kind of deal with people the way we deal with people,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's no rhyme or reason, but there actually is. Right?
You, there is, as we go through some of these tips, I'm going to be filtering in because again, I told you, I really love the ingenious wisdom that I get from Dr. Darius Daniels, and so I'll be splicing in between some of these tips, some of the quotes from his book, Relational Intelligence. Now, what we're reading you is not excerpts per se from his book, but it's from an article that we, have obtained some, overall and general tips that will help with relational intelligence. Darius Daniels did release a book by the same title, not related, but by the same title that does give. It's a wonderful book. You should definitely pick it up. But it is the quotes are just I think they're good quotes. I think they'll add some basis, but the tips that we have for you will definitely give you guys some foundation, some things to just definitely think about. So I'm gonna just get us kicked off before we begin and just something to ponder. Listen, part of your purpose in relationships in life, part of your purpose is to be a relational asset and not a liability. That's it. Think about how you relate to other people. You want to be a relational asset and not a liability. So what are you being in someone's life? Are you costing them or are you blessing them? Just a little something to take away. A little something to take away.
Yeah. And let me interject here. And some of us, so one of my online mentors, Nehemiah Davis, is famous for his audit, right? His relationship audit. What he does is he goes back and he looks at the last 20 text messages, the last 40 text messages, and he asks him, he filters them by one question. Did this person ask for did this person add a deposit into my life, or did they create a withdrawal into my life? With this text message, right? When I read this text message, are you adding to my life? Or are you taking away from my life?
Wow.
And then once you just look through the last 30 text messages, now I can click on Michelle A. And now I can look at Michelle A's
don't start with mine.
30 text messages and say, What was the last? What was the last 30 text messages from Michelle A?
Well, you got to start with
How many
mine.
of them added value, and how many of them were
Some of them did.
to
You ain't got to count
withdraw?
them.
Right.
Some of them did.
So
You ain't got to count them all. You ain't got to count them all. Don't count them. Just look. Just browse through them.
just
Start
browse
somewhere
through them.
else. Right. Don't
But
really count.
but when you do that audit, this is how you determine whether somebody's an asset or liability
That's
in your
good.
life.
That's
Like
good though.
think about it. Some
Yikes.
people, every
I'm gonna
time you
do it
get a text
today.
message or you hear from these people, they bring in drama in your world.
Wow.
That's a clue. That's a clue. But
That's a scary. That's scary though, because like
yeah,
immediately there are folks that come to mind. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for the truth. Man, that
right,
is
right. You
scary.
might not want to know the truth about
You may not,
some of the people. Like, man, really?
because some of them may be
Every time I hear
friends,
from this person.
some may be family. But those are tough things. Some of y'all might need counseling when y'all finish. By the time we get to the end of this show, or by the time if y'all do that audit, y'all might need counseling. By the time y'all get to number 15, y'all might not even make it to 30. Yeah, don't do it. Look, you might not be able to do it. Go through each person. Don't do it by the person. You might just want to pick 30
Right.
people. You know what I'm saying? If you know 30 people, do it by the person. Because if you start with your grandma, I don't know, some of your grandmas might be reckless. You might be like, Nana, I gotta divorce my grandma. Oh Lord, no, why? Oh, why? Grandma is
All
reckless.
the drama in the family seems to come from one source, and you wouldn't believe where it's coming from.
Right. We gotta get Nana some counseling too. Hey, but it might be the road to healing that's needed. In 2023, we gotta start recognizing and looking at some. Let me say it like this: in 2023, we have to be the interruption in the bloodline to some generational curses that have been existing for years. You know what I'm saying? It's got to stop somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And I know myself, I've ignored a lot of things for a lot of years, and I've skimmed over and I've surfaced a lot of things. But sometimes you got to go deep to uproot some things, and sometimes it hurts. But you got to uproot it if you want to look at generations down the line and see them be healthy. You got to uproot some things now to affect the things later. So yeah,
and most of the time they will hurt. Like I've never seen anyone go into a surgical procedure and
come
come out with
on.
no pain, because that's what it is.
Recovery
It's a
hurts.
surgical procedure. It's
Recovery
going to hurt,
hurts. Yeah.
and just know that going in. And like I don't want to. If I'm blindsided by pain, it seems like it hurts more. But if I know going in, like, man, this is going to be tough. You know what typically happens? I come out on the other side and say, yeah, it was tough, but it wasn't tough as I imagined.
Right.
Because
Right.
I made it bigger. I made it tougher in my head to get through. And then when I experienced it, oh, it wasn't that tough. It wasn't that bad. But I was anticipating it to be tough. And that's what allowed me to walk through it. And so keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen. It's not going to be easy, and it's going to hurt, but you're going to heal from it. And how much hurt are you going to keep from future generations if you put that weight on your shoulders?
Absolutely. We'll dive in here. I'll start us off with number 1. 6 practical ways you can help improve your relational intelligence. One of the ways, and again, this is all relationships, you can be proactive in conversations rather than passive, right? People with relational intelligence are able to intentionally steer conversations with clarity and help set the tone of their communication. Their words and their actions connect with people in a way that matters, as they speak with passion and inflection, not with a monotone voice. They are careful to engage in dialogues and not in monologues. So that just means, being intentional with how you speak. And I'm guilty of this. Oops, I goofed. I'm guilty of this. Just I need to get this conversation off because I just want to talk, But am I engaging in a dialogue? Am I saying something and then Am I waiting to hear your response so I can talk again? Or do I really want to hear what you got to say? You know, so that we can really have a healthy dialogue back and forth, you know, intentionally, you know, and am I asking questions that guide the conversation to a healthy place? You know, that's intentional conversation, you know, instead of just mindless chit chat. Oh, the weather. Oh, it's raining. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. You know, go ahead.
And that's what it takes is you have to be intentional. And I'm learning this, you know, God has been dealing with me on see people and not transactions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the things that um, one of my online mentors said, people want to feel felt. Above everything else, we're all egotists, right? And one of the things that you could do when someone is in your presence and be proactive is to make people feel felt in your presence. Because believe it or not, they don't get that in a lot of places,
Yep.
right? And my wife has this amazing gift to do that. And as a result, because she makes people feel felt, they always call her for everything. Right? I'm like, hey, lady, you can't take on everybody's problems. But I know now why people cling to her is because she has this incredible gift of making people feel felt.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone has never feel felt around anyone in their life, they got a new best friend in my wife because she makes them feel felt. Right.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind as you are proactive in your conversation and intentional with caring for people's egos because that's what it's all about in relationship building. Number two, practice self-awareness. Stephen Covey gives a classic example of this in his book, Relational Intelligence. If you are familiar with the main character from the TV show The Office, Michael Scott, you know how much he lacks self-awareness. Of course, this contributes to the comedy, but the truth is we all have a little bit of Michael Scott in us. In other words, we don't always see how we contradict ourselves with our words or what our deficits or dysfunctions really are, or how unaware we remain about how insensitive we can be to other people. It's one of those things where we all have blind spots, right? What you
Mm-hmm.
have to do with the people that you really love and the people that you really trust with your ego, with your heart, you have to give them permission to point out your blind spot. But I'm going to say this in giving them permission, you have to train them how to bring that information to you, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
give somebody permission to point out your blind spots, they'll wait until you're in a room full of people and
Ta.
go in on you. And it's like, wait a minute,
Mm-hmm.
that ain't how we do that. Right? That was foul, but I appreciate you pointing that out. Next time, pull a brother coattail and pull a brother to the side, and so give someone permission to point out your blind spots, but also train them how to do
Right. Not when we in front of company. Just one-on-one. Thank you very
it.
much.
Right.
Not in an argument. My kids used to do that to me.
Mhm.
In arguments. Mama, you don't listen. Mama, you don't. This is not the time for you to be telling me about what you
Right.
feel. I don't.
Right.
This is not the time. Pick a moment, and this one ain't it. Number 3, what I'm working on, become an active listener, right? And it seems kind of cliche because it seems like, what, you listening? Not always so, right? Learning to be an active listener is realizing that everyone has a story to tell. That part, right? While you don't need to know every little detail, take the time to discover what is most interesting about a person and draw it out of them. It's rare to find a person that is genuinely interested in others. Be that person and be that person, and it will draw other people to you. You know what I'm saying? So with this, and this is something that I think I want to be this person that finds the uniqueness, find the unicorn in a person, right? And that is listening to a person's story and seeing what makes them different. You know, not just listening to the story, but what makes them different than the average person, what that hobby, that interest, that motivating factor is about them, and you know what they like to, and then engage them in conversation about it. You know, maybe that person likes oh, there's a gal that I go to church with, and she really likes rose gold everything. And so, you know, it's just something I noticed in our office. We used to work together back in the summertime. And so I get her little trinkets every here and again that are rose gold, you know, and that's her thing, you know, and so it's so when I surprise her with something, it could be the smallest thing. She's always over the moon about it, you know, and it doesn't have to be something big, but it's something that I listened when she mentioned it in a conversation. I was aware when I was in her office. And it's something that gave me a connection with her, you know. So it made me, I became an active listener and engaged in conversation with her. So
yeah, I'm learning that right now. I'm studying a book by this guy named Alex Hermosi, and it's a business book on how to craft your offers. But really, he does this great presentation on selling and salesmanship. And if you've ever wondered why or how someone got you to buy, if you can think back to those moments, I can guarantee you this: they ask you a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to really make someone feel felt, you want to really be an active listener, learn how to ask questions. Learn how to get people to expound on what it is that they like. Because remember, everybody is their own favorite person that they like to talk about. So when you get a person going in on them and you continue to ask more questions and get them to expound even further on them, I promise you, that's how you get to build a relationship. You ask questions, and that's going to help you with your active listenership. Because I promise you, every time I walk away from a conversation and I reflect on a conversation, I think, man, I should have asked him about that. Well, why didn't I ask him about that? Because I wasn't listening. In the moment, I listened to the playback of the conversation, but in the moment, clearly I wasn't listening because I didn't think to ask them about something they said or how to expound. So we've got 3 more of these to go for you, but before we do, we've got to get into some portrait of a millionaire. Ladies and gentlemen,
you need a theme song.
Reminding, yes, I gotta give me a thing. I keep reminding y'all what what a real millionaire looks like, because some of us got it twisted, and as a result, we're chasing things that don't end up in us being wealthy, right? So let's get into Portrait of a Millionaire right here on the St. Louis Podcast. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Portrait of a Millionaire right here on the St. Louis Social Podcast. What we do with Portrait of a Millionaire is we remind you of the 7 factors of a millionaire. These 7 things are what most millionaires have in common. And then I'm going to give you something that you may not recognize that is completely tied to being wealthy and how wealthy people live their lives. So 7 factors. They live below their means. You can't spend everything that you make. Number 2, they allocate their time, energy, and money efficiently in ways conducive to building wealth. Number 3, they believe that financial independence is more important than displaying high social status. They want to be wealthy and not just look wealthy, right? Number 4, their parents did not provide economic outpatient care. So if you're doing that for your children, you're ruining their chances of being a millionaire. Number five, their adult children are economically self-sufficient. Why? Because they didn't provide economic outpatient care. Number six, they are proficient in targeting market opportunities. They look for opportunities to grow their wealth, to acquire more assets. Number seven, they chose the right occupation, right? That's critically important. So one of the things that they also have in common, and this is going to be tough for some of us to hear, but on average, our total annual realized income is less than 7% of our wealth. In other words, we live on less than 7% of our wealth. Now, I know some of y'all are thinking, well, Cortez, if I make $100,000 a year, you telling me that I'm supposed to live on 7,000? It didn't say they live on 7% of their income. It says they live on 7% of their wealth. We've got to understand what it means to accumulate wealth. Different between wealth and income. And when you start to understand that, you'll start accumulating the things that line up with wealth building versus those things that end up in high income. Because remember, the more you make, the more they take. So you can make that six figures if you want to. If you don't do it in the pursuit of wealth, then Uncle Sam is just going to take a huge chunk of it. So that, my friends, is Portrait of a Millionaire right here on the Cortez Hustle Show, brought to you by our good friends over at Monetize My Life Academy. If you are new to Monetize My Life Academy, and I'm just trying to get Michelle back on the stream, and I can't get myself back on the stream now.
It's the part where I just sit here and smile.
Hello. There we go. So, if you're new to Monetize My Life Academy, we help everyday hardworking men and women take their gifts, talents, special abilities, turn them into an online business. If you're struggling in that area, $97 per month before the price goes up, we can help you do just that. We provide the tools, templates, training, resources to help you in that area. MonetizeMyLifeAcademy.com. So, I believe it was on me. You did number 3. If you just tuning in,
it was on me. No, it was on you.
Mm-hmm. So if you're just tuning in, we're talking relationship intelligence, right? How do you really become good in relationships? And this is foundational because even when it comes to your dating relationships, right, it will help you understand how to be in a relationship, but it will also help you understand how to recognize someone who has low relationship IQ. And that might be the first clue to not waste your time, or at least to understand that I'm going to have to educate this person on how to be in a relationship. And I don't know about you, sometimes we don't have time for that. You just want to be in the space where people already understand how to be good to other people, right? So number 4 on our list is be aware of the invisible dynamics of a conversation. Pay attention to the body language and emotional cues of your audience. Sometimes what's not being said is just as important as what is. Someone with high relationship intelligence is able to discern the subtleties of what is being communicated beneath the actual conversation and can use that to steer the dialogue forward. Man, what's being communicated versus what's being said. And you have to pay attention in order to pick up on this stuff, right? This is why sometimes it's if you're talking to someone and not looking at them, it's easy to miss what's being communicated because you're tripping off what's being said. And by nature, we learn via pictures. So if I'm not looking at Michelle and she's talking, as she's talking, I'm creating pictures in my head of what she's saying to help me create comprehension. But
True.
if I'm looking at her, I'm seeing pictures of her actually moving around, whether she's animated, I can see if she's upset, all of those different
Mm-hmm.
things. Now I can see what's being communicated
Yep.
versus what's being said. Huge, huge, huge
It
telltale
is.
sign. What's being communicated, not always what's being
That's so good. There's so many ways to go with that. I have two parts to that for me. I reflect on in my past life when I spent some time in the call center world as a quality assurance manager, and when you listen for a living, right? And for all my people out there who listen for a living, and you're in the QA world where all you do your whole 8 hours, 8+ hours are spent just listening. That's what you do for a living. You listen to details, you listen to calls, and you learn to listen to conversation, details, and you train your brain to listen for details, and then you become equipped to listening to what is being said as well as what is not being said. Because you all you have is your ears, you're listening for breath and tone, and because you can't go off of facial cues and body cues, you have to go off of voice inflection and breath inclination, and you have to go off of all of those things, pauses and highs and lows. That is how you're reading facial and body postures now by breath and sound. So that plays a part as well. I did want to say something that I think kind of feeds into our conversation, especially for the dynamics of conversation. When you get into the dynamics of conversation, you kind of have to know who you're dealing with. And I'm going to deviate slightly here. And in order to have some of these conversations, you got to know who you're talking to. So I'm going to quickly give you four groups of people that you can kind of put people into four different buckets as part of relational intelligence, just to help you have these conversations with people. You're either going to have them in a friends category, right? And these are individuals who are relational assets. We talked about that earlier. Friends are people who are individuals who are relational assets and not liabilities. These are the relationships where you can be your authentic self. Or you're going to have associates. These are the relationships where a common interest or intersecting schedules bring you together with people. The nature of these relationships is friendly, but there isn't a desire to go deeper into the relationship. You don't really know a lot about them, or really there's no basic trust there. It could be a work employee, a church person. You guys come together because of a common goal. The next group is assignments. Maybe they're a trainee, a mentee, maybe an advisee. Maybe this is a mentoring relationship where you are the mentor. And then the last category is an advisor. Maybe this is when an individual is mentoring you for a limited amount of time, right? So in forming some of these relationships, you got these four different buckets. Having the conversations that we are discussing, knowing what bucket the person falls in will help you to know how to navigate these conversations, right? Because you're going to navigate them differently if you're talking to a friend versus if you're talking to an advisor, right? You're going to kind of know how far to go into that dynamic, those invisible dynamics of the conversation. You're going to know kind of how to steer those differently if I'm talking to a friend like Cortez. It's your friend / advisor with me, right? So I'm navigating conversations differently with you in some arenas. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
said.
Hopefully
Yeah,
not
I love
add
it.
too much confusion there.
And
Number
Deborah
5.
says real quick,
Oh yeah, please.
she learned these principles from a billionaire, and
Oh, nice.
one of the ways that they become wealthy
Hmm.
is they value relationships more than anything else, and they understand the power in relationships. You
Yeah.
guys know, I don't care what you do in life, you are all one or two
Mm,
relationships from a radically different world. And
man.
that's what I'm starting to understand now is, man, I just got to get out there. I'll tell you a quick story. When I was at the Influence, the summit over the summer, right? Last year, last fall, I didn't know. So Paul came up and talked to me at my booth. I was doing my vending thing, and I didn't know who he was.
Who?
Right?
Carl.
And,
Oh, Carl. Guyana
no,
Carl.
not Carl. No, Paul. I think his name is
Paul.
Paul.
Paul. Paul. Guyana Paul.
Paul.
Bald head guy. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know who he was, and he was asking questions about what I do, making me feel felt. And
You
because
do.
of my lack of relational intelligence, this dude is a multi millionaire. He should have been doing all the talking. I should be doing all the listening. I should have been asking all the questions, but he's asking me questions, and I'm like, when you understand the power of relationships, you're able to move and navigate in this world in a way that can create relationships that can change your life. And right now, to this day, Andrew from that same
Yep.
conference gave me a tip that has me on the path of creating
Nice.
or getting my certification for Black male owned business and my minority certifications and my historically underdeveloped uh, community certification. And guess what? I'm getting it for free. Now, somebody cold called me in my business and was like, hey, we can get your minority certification, get you hooked up in SAM so you can do government contracting for $3,700. But because of a relationship with Michelle, who invited me to this event, and me getting to know and ask questions at this event, I got access to a resource that I'm getting a $3,700 service for free. So I'm
That's
here
so
to tell you,
cool.
all of us are one or
So
two
glad. Oh, that's so cool.
relationships
I'm so glad
away
something came
from.
out of that.
I'm telling you,
Oh,
great.
thank God. Now that Paul is cool. He don't be wearing no ring either. I do be kind of looking at Paul like, hey, Paul. Hey, Mr. Paul with no ring on. Paul, Paul is actually what's the other dude you just met? Paul, and what's the other guy's name?
Andrew,
Andrew. Paul is
Andrew.
Andrew's uncle. So they're both
Okay.
from Guyana. So we just did a mission trip
Mm,
to Guyana or whatnot.
gotcha.
But yeah, they're uncle and nephew. But yeah, they've been buzzing around. I be looking at that. Hey, Paul, make sure I always
Yeah.
shake his hand. Hey, how are you? No ring still, okay. But you know what? These
Founded
men nowadays
founded
don't be wearing no ring.
several founded several multi-million dollar companies and firms, and I'm like, man, listen, uh, yeah.
I love them. No, good guy though. All jokes aside,
Yeah,
good guy. I'm so glad that you were able to glean something that what I'm
yeah.
saying. That's awesome because they really are. I sat behind Andrew and his wife at the revival, the last couple
Mhm.
nights of revival. So that yeah, that's so cool.
I'm telling
Yay!
you,
That's
that's relationships are everything. So learning
yes.
how to navigate and be in and create a memorable impression. And I'll say this one last tip because I
Yeah.
did a show on this just last week. Whenever you want to make a good impression on people, let them know you're impressed by them.
Oh,
See, we from the hood, Michelle, and if I let somebody know I was impressed by them, what they gonna say? Hey, get off that dude job.
I man, I
Some of the most
you
ignorant
know.
things we've ever done in our culture, right?
Right. I just told somebody that I told another female that it was this week, and she said, "You know what, sister? We have to be able to tell." And it escapes me who it was, and I complimented another female, and I was just like, "Oh, pooey, it escapes me." But she said, "Why can't we do this as Black women? Why can't we just say what you just said to me?" And I forget who it was, where I was, but whoever it was, I complimented them on they were doing something, and I was like, man, like you are the booger with the sugar for whatever it is you are doing. But being able, it is
Mhm.
like you said, from the hood, females, there's a yeah, you know, saying her nothing.
Mhm.
We got to be able
Mhm.
to do that. We should be able, like you said, guys, why you riding him? Females don't. Why you tell her? Why not?
Mhm.
Why can't we look
Because
at each other and appreciate, each other? Why can't we? Yeah.
because we were never taught the power of relationships. We have all since the beginning of our existence in this society we've always been put against each other. So it's a competition thing,
Mm-hmm.
never a collaboration thing. And we've got
That's
to fix
crazy.
that. Got to fix that.
That's crazy. Okay. Was it on me? I don't even know if it was on me or not.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
on
it
you.
was.
Number 5.
I'm gonna hit it real quick. Be engaged and present in the moment. Avoid living a distracted life. Mm.
Mm.
Often we find ourselves looking physically alert, but mentally we are disconnected from our soul. Hey, and others. Monitor the energy of both the body and your soul. Take time to revitalize and stay connected and centered. This is an art and takes a lifetime of practice. Learn what refreshes and reconnects you and moves you toward those things. Man,
Mm.
stay present in the moment. It just, for me, because sometimes the cart gets away from the horse, it really is about slowing down. It really is about put one foot in front of the other and just
Yeah.
live each moment. That probably, other than the fact that I like to talk, it really is about taking the time to, hey, how you doing today? Hey, I like those shoes. It really is about stopping to smell the roses, because that makes me stop in the moment. It makes me, I stop and notice. I try to stop and note, because I don't like to, if I move too fast, I miss things. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So that's
Yeah.
my conscious way of stopping to notice and moving slow. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I've
Yeah.
heard this is so cliche, but in the Bible, Jesus never ran anywhere. He walked
Mm.
everywhere he had to be and always made it
Mhm.
there on time. You know, and
Yeah.
and so people, we rush through our lives, we hurry and we hustle and bustle. No,
Yeah.
stop and smell
I
the
agree.
roses.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One of the things that I've been doing lately is I take a deep breath and I have to literally tell myself to be present.
yeah,
Be present. Like,
yeah.
because one of the things that I struggle with, my creativity is so high that a single word can get me. I done built 15 different things just while we were having this conversation in my head. So I have to come back and be like, no, be present, be present, be present. So that's incredibly important. Learning how to do
Mm-hmm.
that. And it is a lifelong skill that you have to develop, especially those of us who are on more the creative side, because we're
Yep,
always seeing and creating. And if you're creative
always.
and an entrepreneur, I'm also always looking for problems to solve because solving problems make me money. So I'm always looking like, no, be present, be
Be
present.
present.
Like,
What's
so
going on right here, right
last
now?
one, number 6, be intentional about making yourself approachable, hospitable, and friendly. And I'm
Come
going to
on,
say this. There's a whole paragraph that I'm not even going to read, but I'm
sum it
going to
up.
tell you this.
What you gonna say?
Check your default face, people.
Man, come on, AKA your resting face.
Check your default face.
Woo!
Some of us have a default or resting face that says, Jigger, if you even think about approaching me, you better apologize.
When I tell you, sir, when I be at church, my overseer, I wish he's a really good friend of mine. God bless him. His name is Wade. I really wish he watched this show, because when I tell you every Sunday morning, I'm a team lead for like our First Impressions ministry, which is, what is it? First Impressions. And he be like, he'll walk past me and he calls me Queen Mother. He be like, Queen Mother, your face, fix it. And I'll be like, oh, cheese. Cause my resting face be like, you finna get this work today. My
Yeah,
resting face,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And
yeah,
mine isn't aggressive, but it's not approachable because mine is deep thought. So
yeah,
if you see somebody in deep thought, you don't want to interrupt them. So
yeah.
now it's not an aggressive. Don't approach me. It is. Oh, I can tell he's thinking about something. I'm gonna come back later. No,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm always thinking about something. So I've got to make sure that my resting face is one that says, "What's
Right.
up?" It's inviting. No, I'm cool. Like you can come up to me and so you really got to pay attention to that because
Yeah.
sometimes if I said we're one or two relationships away, one of those relationships could have done an about face
Yep.
because when they started to approach, you was on some man,
Yeah, the
I'm
beanie
ready to
face.
bite your head off. Look on your face, and it's
Yeah.
like some people don't want to be around that, so you got to be careful with that default face. So I know it's a little after 8. Give us your final thoughts, Michelle, before we get out of here.
Man, be open, check your face. That's you just brought up something. I'm like, man, check your face.
Yeah.
I'll say this: look for moments for God to bless you, man. Like,
Ooh.
just trust God. Look for moments for Him. Just tell God today, Lord, you give Him permission to blow your mind, because really that's what I did at that conference last week. I was open. I said, Lord, you have permission to blow my mind, and He did just that. He did just that, man. So and then just trust Him. Lean not to your own understanding, man. Have a great week, guys.
And I'm gonna say this: learn how to identify those blessings.
Woo.
They often show up dressed in overalls and look like work.
Mm,
I want y'all to get that. Your
put this in
blessing
time.
often shows
Come
up in
on.
overalls and look like work.
Mm,
And sometimes we run from that work. Sometimes we say, I'm not qualified. I can't. Stop saying you. God showed it to you. He put it in your sphere for a reason and you actually recognize it. He's probably
gotta go
going to
do it.
equip you to be able to get that thing
Go
done.
do
So
it.
your blessings are there, but stop running from the work. So I appreciate you guys all for tuning in. Until I talk to you next time, get your money up because you absolutely can do it. But more importantly, you deserve to do it, each and every single one of you. Now, hustle up.